All right. It is Monday and we are back. We are live today with another edition of the Fivers Futures live trading session. I am Dave, your host as usual. I hope you had a great weekend. I hope you're ready to get into these charts. It's been interesting times so far. So let me know. Let me know how you guys are doing. Let me know in the chat what you're looking at today. Let me know if there's anything in particular you want me to look at. And we're gonna definitely get into it. I hope you had a great week last week. I hope you had a green week. I hope you were able to relax during this weekend. And we're gonna see what the market holds for us now. This week we have mega cap earnings, so that's something to watch out for. We're gonna have some Fed announcements on Wednesdays. On Wednesday, sorry, and is it Wednesday or Thursday? I'll have to double check. And so we're gonna see what happens. I'm expecting to see some positioning this week. So today is either gonna be some big drops, or we're probably gonna have some sideways action. So we're gonna see what we can get into. Let's dive right into the charts and check it out. We have Tinana in the house. Good to see you as usual. And let me know who is in the house and what you want me to look at. There's something I haven't looked at much, which is the Twitter feed, because I know we have some people watching us on Twitter. Today I'm gonna try to have it open next to me on my phone. This way, let me mute this. This way, hopefully, I could see what the people on Twitter are saying. If you're watching on Twitter right now, drop a comment and let me know. I'll try to see if I can reply to you live, if I could see it. You know what? Let me pull a screen right next to me here. Well, I keep saying Twitter, but it's actually X. Sorry, guys. I'm still not used to calling it X. I think Twitter was a good name. But hey, I didn't pay, what was it, 40 billion, 44 billion for that account. I mean that company. So I don't get to call it whatever I want. All right, let me check something out really quickly. All right, I got the feed here. For Twitter. Drop a comment under the live and let me know. Let me know how was your weekend. Let me know what you're looking at. Let me know what you want me to look at, and then we'll get into it. All right, so we're looking at the indices right now. Let's jump right into these charts. Actually, let me pull up the weekly chart. So we have actually a bearish formation happening right now. This is the ES. I should put the micros up. Let me put up the micros. Give me 1 second. All right, we got the MES right there. So this is what I want to show you. We're breaking. This is a pretty good short setup, actually. We're breaking these lows. We have the Asia low over here. This was London. We have the overnight session low around here, so that's a pretty good target. This is actually a trade I was thinking about taking, unless this is, of course, a liquidity sweep. Then we would sweep the lows and whoa, what happened there? Okay, I was trading the wrong account. All right. So we're looking at a pretty good setup here on the indices. As usual, I like to look at price in terms of the speed of the price. So the trend is going to determine the speed of the price for me. And then we're going to look at horizontal levels and, of course, we're going to look at pattern formations, right? So let's, all right, let me leave this here right now. I had a little glitch right now. Let's go into Trading View for a second. Let's zoom out. Let's start with the NQ. So looking at this on a weekly time frame, we see that we've been pushing up for the past 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks, right? We opened near the highs in the overnight session, right? And now we're pulling back. So this week, we're going to see, is it going to be a pullback week where we go and retest those prior all-time highs because we broke out of these highs? So is this a week where we kind of, get a retrace? And if we look at a 50% retrace comparing it to the prior week, that would be right above these highs around the 26,980s. Which is highly likely. Of course, it's going to depend on what the earnings are this week, what the positioning is. So are we going to see a lot of churn and sideways consolidation? We'll have to see what the week brings and what happens there. Now, for the time being, what we're seeing is an attempt to try and go push the indices lower, right? So we saw a move up in the overnight session. We conquered those highs, pushed back down. We formed a lower high, right? And we're holding right here. If we look at the session volume profile, we are right below that point of control. So we will see, can we reconquer this and go retest those highs, or are we going to get a break and retest and a short setup? So I wanted to make an attempt at the short setup right now, but I guess we'll have to be patient and wait a little bit before we get what we want. The great thing to notice here as well is that we are getting an alignment of the prior session with the current session, right? So the point of control is totally aligned here at that 27,400 level, which is going to probably be a key level for us during this session. Let's just look at the hourlies for a second. So looking at the hourlies, yeah, so possible targets if we're not able to hold this level and revert back to the upside once we open, are going to be these lower levels here. Let me point them out. So we're gonna probably be able to target this pocket right here around those 200s, which would be about 200 points below the level we're at if we're moving lower. But if we're able to reconquer the highs, well, a few things to watch out for. So as usual, let's do the bullish case, the neutral case, and the bearish case. So bullish case, sorry, if we're able to hold these highs, well, it's simple. We would break, go retest these levels, maybe pull back a little bit and continue to the upside to go test those overnight session highs at the 27,500s. And if we're really strong, well, we continue higher. Now, that would, of course, be the bullish case for the Nasdaq. If we're unable to do this, then the neutral case would be a lot of sideways consolidation, which would mean, wicks lower, the wicks get bought, we push higher, we are unable to break these highs, and we stay within that, what would that be, about a 50 to 100 point range? Let's see, give me 1 second. Yeah, it's about 100 point range. So that would mean that we would oscillate around these levels here if we are neutral. And I definitely want to keep that in mind for today. Of course, it's not going to be a perfect sideways consolidation like that, we would test lows, we would retest highs, but we would not be able to break lower nor break higher. And we would remain inside this probably 100, point range for the remainder of the day until we can truly find direction. Now, will this happen today? We'll see. We're seeing a push lower as of yet. Another thing to keep in mind is that, we formed kind of a high and then a lower high. So if we are able to hold below this and we are able to compress, wick lower, kind of buy some liquidity here, go retest the highs, and then we think that this is the short setup, because that would be the perfect short setup. We break the low, retest the highs, and then move lower, of course, in a much shorter time frame, because this is an hourly chart. If that doesn't happen, right, for the bearish case, then we would oscillate inside this trend line, form another lower high, and then break out of this and possibly continue higher. That is one possibility. The other possibility is that we break out, it becomes a fake out that retests this area, this pocket, and on the contrary, we go retest the lows. So we'll see what happens, and we will decide what to do based on that. So we have a question coming here saying, do you usually trade ranges or do you prefer waiting for a breakout? Well, like Samir, who usually joins me on Mondays, but I don't think he'll be able to join me today. I usually prefer breakouts. Now, of course, the best setup would be to have a range form. So the best setups is where you're able to see a range. So actually here we have a range. It's not a sideways consolidation, but we have somewhat of a pattern formation. It's great when you're able to see a pattern. So here, we had a higher high. We had a higher low, which is slightly higher than the Asia low. We had a retest of this pocket here. We formed a lower high. Right now, we're trying to form a second low, but because of, you see all the wick action here, we're not completely decided on where we're going to go. And what we would have to see for, let's say, a bullish continuation is, a high formed here, and then we would want to hold around this level, kind of have a little consolidation here, break out of this, pull back, and continue that trend. You can see that purple trend line that I have here going, that would be the upper end of the trend. So that would be us continuing higher. So in terms of preference, I prefer breakouts. I would prefer a clean breakout with a clean retest and a continuation. So if we get that, great, and we continue higher, that would be an awesome setup. What I don't like is completely range bound markets, because since, I'm kind of a breakout trader and trend follower, I expect, the trend to follow. What I'm not a fan of is you kind of break out, it becomes a fake out, you buy the retest, and then it's not a real retest. It forms a lower high and then continues lower, and as it continues lower, you're like, okay, we're reaching the bottoms, we kind of retest, and you maybe short the retest of the upper end of the range, and you think you're going to go lower, and that gets bought again and is brought back up. So this type of price action is the one that I'm not a fan of, because we can't really get continuation there. So if we get that today, and then, I'm conscious that this might happen, then yeah, I might not get a setup, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. And we will decide based on that. Let me see if my Twitter people are all right. We're here. We're live on Twitter. And yeah, let me see. Let me hear in the chat. Don't be shy. Don't be quiet. Let me know what you are looking at. Let me know what are your plans for the day. Is there anything in particular you want me to look at? As usual, we're going to look at all the assets. We're about 15 minutes until the open, but right now for the Nasdaq, that's what we have in mind. We have the bullish case, the bearish case, and the neutral case. A short setup that would be great is, if we're able to kind of break below, retest, and then continue and go retest this prior pocket here, or maybe all the way below at the end of that range. That would be a 200-point move, which is totally possible on the Nasdaq. As usual, we will wait for the opening range, and we will see what we can get as a setup. We had a quick look at the ES earlier, and we have a similar pattern formation here. So let me take my so if we're looking at the volume profile, we're seeing a similar pattern formation, and there's one check in our favor for the bearish case right now, is that we're getting a point of control today that is lower than the prior week's point of control. So that kind of tells us that, okay, fair value is kind of lower than the previous session. So will we continue to oscillate lower? Well, that remains to be seen. We might get somewhat of a muted session today because of earnings. We might just get some positioning, and that would mean a lot of churn. So we'll see if that's what we get or not. But today, in a similar fashion, if we are unable to, kind of break higher and hold those highs, it's highly likely that we push a little bit lower on the ES. Maybe go target these lows right there if we're able to push lower, which is about 30 points below. 40 points below would be those 7150s, which was a very key level last week. We saw this level show up many times on the Gex charts with Steve. So we'll see what we can get there. We will see what we can get. So that's what we're looking at on the ES, kind of a similar pattern formation. Let's just go quickly to the Dow. So the Dow really moving sideways, and I observed last week how the Nasdaq was pushing higher. So, for example, on April 24th, the Nasdaq was able to push higher, but the Dow was unable to do so, right? And if we look at relative strength, let's look at this weekly chart. We could see that, relative strength wise, sorry guys, and I have my inflection level noted here. The Dow, even though, we recovered really well, we had 3 weeks of higher levels, and this was almost an inside bar. Last week was almost an inside bar, trading inside of this week. Yes, of course, we wicked a little higher, which kind of disqualifies it, but right now we opened lower than last week on the Dow. So is the Dow going to be the leading indicator this week and showing us that, okay, it's time for a pullback? It's time for us to kind of look lower, because if we're looking at the Dow right now, this area has acted, the previous pocket has acted as resistance here. So are we going to push lower? We'll see. We'll see. We're about 12 minutes to the open. So we'll see what we get. Now let's zoom in a little bit on the Dow 4-hour. Interesting pattern formation here. This is steady stepping down, You could see, every pop gets sold, and it's been getting sold for the past, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sessions. So that is a very interesting pattern formation on the Dow. And this area, oh, sorry guys, my throat. This area is an interesting level to look at. See right here at around 49,300 to 49,200, more or less. Right here, this is an interesting area to look at. This is a very clean pattern, and this is going to be very decisive, actually. This is something we might definitely want to look at. Let me pull it up. I added a screen. I bought an extra screen, guys. So right now, if I'm looking up, I'm not praying to the sky. I'm just looking up at my next screen. It's too high for now. I am waiting. I'm still waiting for the what's it called? The screen holder. I ordered it so I can have my screen in front of me because like I've been saying for a while now, I felt I needed an extra screen to be able to see everything because I have the the streaming stuff on one screen. I have a few chats on another screen, so I'm monitoring that, and then I have all the trading screens that I'm looking at. So this way I don't have to be opening and closing everything. So we got an extra screen. So if I'm looking up, that is what I'm looking at right now. I'm just putting the Dow there on my extra screen so I can see it. Let me save this. Just 1 second. All right, we're going to set this up. This is an interesting pattern that I definitely want to keep in mind today. And I might even need to set an alert. You know what? Let's set an alert on this one. This way, if it triggers, we will be aware of what's going on. All right, just 9 minutes until the open. We have to switch really quick to oil and gold to take a look at what they're doing. Sorry, guys. The Russell has definitely taken all-time highs, just like the Nasdaq. We are slightly bullish on the Russell in comparison to the other assets, um, at least on the week. So we'll see what happens there. We'll see what we do on the Russell. Again, point of control opens slightly higher. We do see two tops formed. So far, things are neutral to bearish on the week, unless we completely revert on the open and we have those bulls completely change the scenario. So we'll see what happens. Now let's check out our friend oil really quick. So crude oil, we had different scenarios written here, and I guess the neutral one is kind of the one that panned out. We talked about how this was the prior. Let me take out these levels. This was the gap, right? And we said we were trading inside the gap, and as long as we stayed inside the gap, we might see some sideways action. So the bearish scenario didn't play out. The bullish scenario started, and I think we had that on April 23rd, which was Thursday last week. So we said if we were able to hold this trend, then oil would push higher. That did not happen either, but we did get kind of the neutral scenario, right? Neutral to bullish. So we had crude oil tried to hold these levels, and we said if we could break out of this range, then crude oil's levels would push higher. Now we've seen the indexes push higher, and these two are inversely correlated. So far we are neutral on crude. Now of course the situation in Hormuz is is not helping. We are kind of in indecision zone, honestly. I think everybody's waiting to see what's going to happen around the Strait. Big decisions cannot be taken yet until we get a clear path forward, which has not happened. If I'm a business owner right now, if I'm a seller or reseller of petroleum related products, I would be scratching my head right now. I would definitely be wondering, okay, what's going on? What are we deciding? Because nothing has been decided so far. We're still in that indecision area, as I could say. So crude oil right now holding those 95. So we're smack dab in the middle of the range. You see how, at least on the technical aspect here, I marked the size of the gap, and it's funny how we're exactly opening the week in the middle of the range. So really indecision. This is pure indecision, at least on crude oil. So we'll see what we get. Prices going down would be interesting to see. Um, Inversely correlated. So prices going down would mean the indices continuing to push up. So we'll see what we get there. Not the most convincing chart to trade right now, at least on the hourly for my swing traders out there. And then on gold, we've been steadily pushing lower, but with a lot of hesitation. So that is probably showing, rotation to the indices and not a lot of action on gold for now. So what are we going to see on gold in the coming days? Let me just zoom out a little bit. Like I've said multiple times, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a push lower in the coming weeks or even days, to go retest this prior pocket around the 4500s. This would not surprise me at all, right? Going from 4700 to 4500, maybe within a week, right? Week and a half. So we'll see what we get. And maybe that holds, and then we get another retest higher of the area where we're at right now before we get a push lower and go retest this liquidity area here, this pocket. So we'll see what we get. Not entirely sure here, but the safe haven asset here, I think, has done its job. Profits have been taken, and now money is rotating outside of gold to find more opportunity before it rotates back in and rides up for this other leg up we've been waiting for. So we'll see what we get on GC. Now for an intraday setup, I think we're gonna have to be patient. We are, as usual, moving lower. So we formed these highs. So if we're strictly tracing this on a technical aspect, we're looking for levels. Let's just put our session here. Our point of control is slightly above here, so slightly bearish. But this is a lot of sideways action for me. What I would want to see is a clean break, a retest for a move lower. We'll see if we get that, but not 100% confirmed here on GC. So let's see. But don't be shy, guys, in the chat. Remember to like the video. Remember to subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. And let me know what you're looking at. Let me know what you want me to look at in particular. And we'll see what kind of trades we can get. All right. Let's revert back to Black Arrow and kind of look for our setup. So yeah, the trade I wanted to take was a short. I wanted to attempt a break since it looks like we might break out of this consolidation. So we'll try to short these lows, and if the short does not work, then that will confirm that okay, we are not getting that push lower. We are in fact buying liquidity, and we're going to revert back to the upside. So right now we're going to try to short these lows. Our risk is right there. It's the high of this area here on the ES. The ES is allowing us to control our risk better. So we're 1 minute to the open. Let's see what we get. While this performs here, let me put this like this, reset. All right, and we're targeting possibly, so we're going to keep our eyes on this level and this level, right? So around 71.82 and then 71.77. Those Asia lows would probably be the area where I want to take my initial profit. And then if we don't drop, like a rock immediately on the open, and we kind of go and retest these highs, then that confirms that my thesis is wrong. and we will get out of the trade. So this area here is our stop. We'll risk maybe 12 points. So we'll see what we get. All right, we've just opened. Yeah, so let's see what we get on the ES. I am so far somewhat bearish. Let's see what we get. And then we're going to revert to the Nasdaq. Let's see how the movement is going on the Nasdaq. Justin saying, where are the boxes? The boxes will come. They'll come after the 15-minute. Right now we're short. I just want to confirm my short bias. Sorry, my short bias. So we're shorting lows, risking those prior highs. If we're able to kind of get some follow through here, or maybe kind of a break and a retest and then a continuation, that would be good for us. If we don't get this, then that would be strike one, and we'll look for another setup. The boxes, they take about 15 minutes to build. So this is the first try, and if this doesn't work, then we'll try a opening range setup. But to be able to trade the opening range, we actually need a range. So let's see. All right, we're seeing a lot of buying action, which is to be expected. We kind of saw the wicks there. We're seeing increased volume. So let's see. Can we hold these levels right there? And we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. All right, buyers definitely stepping in. So my bearish thesis to start off was definitely wrong. We are definitely holding. So let's see what we get. Our stop is above these highs, so we'll see if shorts can step into here once again. Give me just 1 second, guys. Let me check something here. Let's see. What are you trading today, Justin? Let me know. Let's look at the NQ. NQ is right here. All right. Oh, wow. Interesting. The NQ is bearish in comparison to the ES. That is a very interesting take. So we're seeing relative strength on the ES in comparison to the NQ. So the setup I was looking for actually is happening on the Qs, but not on the ES. So we're seeing a lot more strength on the S&P 500 in comparison to the Nasdaq. That is very interesting. Okay, so that makes me a little bit more confident to hold this trade for longer. Probably entered prematurely. Let me just look at the NQ to compare. So NQ, but we're really holding this really well. So that's probably going to be a loss for us right there if they're unable to short it right here. I have too many things open. Let's see. NQ, yeah, NQ pushing lower. This is a 1 minute. So the setup we were looking for actually happened on the Qs. We broke the lows, retested, and we're moving lower on the NQ. So that is the setup we were looking for. The asset we decided to use, I decided to use the ES because it's easier to manage your risk there. It's, you get less wicks and things of that nature, and the ranges are smaller. But it looks like this was not the thing to do. So you're looking at GC. We're going to look at gold in a few. All right, gold pushing lower as well. All right. Let me look at, let's get back to the ES 1 sec. Let me move this here. All right, we're definitely, okay, so this is a breakout pullback, and this is definitely looking to break higher. You're looking for a box setup. All right. Well, this is confirming the long here. So I'm gonna close my short. I was wrong on that trade. So one loss so far, and we'll wait for another setup. So for the people asking for the box, let's start getting our boxes ready. We're gonna put our pink opening range box as usual. So it's starting to form here. We have the range. The buying was pretty aggressive, at least on the ES. For now, we moved, what is it? We moved about 12 points, which is about a quarter of the average range of the ES. So that's pretty interesting. I'm gonna switch to the all right, so GC moving lower under the point of control. Let's look at oil must be pushing higher. There we go. Oil pushing higher. And there we go. That is what I wanted to see on the Dow Jones. So we're breaking out of that pattern we talked about this morning. So we've had this huge, what's this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days of basically sideways consolidation, sideways action. So here, since we're breaking out, and this is not a fake out, if this is not a fake out, then we could get a pretty long and large move, a pretty large continuation to the upside. You're talking something like this, might not happen in a single day, of course, but that would be a good 700, almost 1,000 points. So that would be pretty nice on the Dow Jones. So let's see what we get on the Dow. 1 second, guys. Let me just check something here. All right. So NQ has seen some buying action here. Let's revert, go back to Black Arrow. The ES retesting those highs. So let's see. We're definitely seeing some selling here, but I just felt this was too aggressive for me to hold the short. If we had moved up and then wicked lower right away on the second candle, this would have been more convincing to hold a short. But this, you pull, this is almost a liquidity sweep. So basically, we move lower, this low gets swept, it gets bought on volume right here, and then we pull back right above VWAP, and we're pushing higher into these highs. This looks so far much more bullish than bearish. So the shorting was not the best idea to start. What I was looking for was a quick, basically what we're getting to the upside. I was looking for, us to lose these lows, at least go fake lower, right? Before moving up to the upside. Now, what I would preferred would have been a break lower, a retest of these lows, and then a continuation lower. But that's not what we got. So let's see, let's wait, let's be patient, and see what kind of setup we get. All right, let's switch to the Nasdaq, and then we'll talk about gold in a few. And just keep this side by side so we could have the longer time frame. Nasdaq looking relatively more bearish than the ES. As a matter of fact, the Nasdaq looking more bearish than the other ones, than both the Dow and let me look at the Russell. Russell pushing higher as well. So in terms of strength, then the tech sector is the weaker of the three. But that does not mean that we can't push higher on the Nasdaq. So we're going to see. We are going to see. And let me get the box ready for Justin. The pink box should be here. I had it ready. There we go. It's right there. All right. We got Stefan in the house. Happy Monday, everyone. So open was here, 930. This so far is the range. And like I told you guys, I have an indicator for this, which does all this manual work for me. And that's what I'm looking at right now. I'll probably make it available for you guys on TradingView. This way we can use it if you want. Kind of helps you frame your trading. And we're being patient right now. We're waiting for the first 15 minutes to develop. This is our box. We are inside the box. All right. And then what we look for is, okay, 50% discount. Where is the 50% discount? So let's put this back in. Is it discount or premium, actually? So 50% is around here. We'll put this in pink also, so it matches. There we go. So we're trading under it on the Qs, which is slightly bearish, right? Let's look at it on the ES. The ES, on the other hand, we're seeing a divergence here. Definite divergence between the ES and the Nasdaq. So right here, this is our opening range, and high of the range is here, and then our middle of the range in pink would be here, right? So in terms of relative strength, we've seen the ES kind of do that liquidity sweep, push higher. Now we're pulling back into the 50% area of this range. So this is looking slightly more bullish than bearish. If we switch and we go and look at the Qs right here, we are at the bottom of the range, right? So what I want to see here is, can we hold these lows on the Nasdaq? Sorry. If we are able to hold these lows, then maybe we buy the ES. Because the ES was the strongest one of the two. If we're not able to hold these lows, then we continue to look for our short setup. Let's see what we get. Let me check out the dollar. So dollar is kind of, what is the dollar doing? Dollar's pushing up. Okay. So we're trying to hold these lows. Let me see. We're gonna wait for another reaction in comparison to this this 50%, right? So if we're able to break, pull back, and hold above, maybe we get along. If we're unable to do it, then we might need to flip our bias and go short. Let's just be a little bit patient here. I'm switching to a 5-minute chart. Remember, I said today might be a positioning day where we actually do not get a clear direction. We don't get a clear trend. So I just want to keep that in mind. Now, looking at the price action, we're definitely trying to hold the lows. So let's see what we get. We are below the London low, and we're trying to hold those prior levels here. All right. Let's look at the ES for a second. So I'm switching back and forth, trying to decide which asset to trade. Man. Oh yeah, we would have been stopped out. Never mind. Because I was thinking maybe I should have held that short trade. But let's see what we get. 1 sec. All right, so now what we're waiting to see, at least on the ES, is we got one test of the upper end of the range, right? Now we're going to test the lower end of the range. So a few setups come to mind. If we're able to hold the low, then we might go and retest the upper end of the range. So that would mean you buy this area, right? That's one setup. Another setup would be, of course, you're buying the lows, targeting the highs, seeing if you're able to break those highs. Another setup would be if you're unable to hold these lows, you push lower, you wait for a retest and enter for continuation, right? And of course, these are trend day setups. Now, for sideways days, then you need to be targeting, if you're buying the lows, you're targeting the highs. If you're selling the highs, you're targeting the lows. Whoa, okay, we're getting some movement here. Let's see, is this breaking news or is this just regular price action moving around? Just check. We're seeing Verizon in talks. Okay, US speaker allowed debate. Nothing crazy going on. We are definitely seeing some volume here, and we're definitely trying to hold these lows on the ES. All right, let me look at the Qs. Okay, we're trying to buy these lows here. We're going to wait for 10 o'clock, boys and gals. We're going to be patient and see what happens there. While this continues to oscillate and rotate, let's just take a look at GC. So we are heading towards, so these are the weekly levels that we usually send out every week. And I said if we kept on holding, below this inflection area around the 4700s throughout the week, then we could see a push towards, those 4600s and even lower towards the prior support, which was 4650s more or less. So let's see what we get. Now, let's zoom in on a 5-minute chart. Actually, let me get the micros. There we go. Yeah, so we're still pushing lower. The read is not very clear for me on GC. What I can tell you though, actually, you know what? Let me simplify it. Let's put the bar chart. I like to do that when I can't get a clean read. All right, so we have these highs right there, right? And we're getting continuous pushes lower. So it's the same price action that's been going on all week, right? You get what I could call a dead cat bounce. We consolidate, we push lower. We get a bounce, we consolidate. Look, Bounce, consolidate, push lower. Bounce, consolidate, push lower. Multiple bounces, consolidate, push. So here we got a higher low. That means we're trying to reverse this trend. But will we be able to? Not 100% sure. Let's get back to the candles. So we're pushing lower here right now, targeting this area, this previous pocket here around the 46.90, 46.95s on gold. So let's see if we could get that. Now, what you could try to do is try to frame this like this. It's like how many, if these are standard deviations, how many standard deviations can you get? Can you get 2? Can you get 3? And what you do is you compare your trend to your horizontal levels, right? You're getting your trend here in yellow, and then I'm going to put the levels, horizontal levels, in blue. These are the targets. That's the liquidity sweep. That's the possible short target. So inside here is kind of no man's land. So if you're already short, this is where you probably want to cover. Here we're doing 1 standard deviation. So let's say you were able to capture, we pulled back, tested higher, you were able to capture the short somewhere around here, or maybe somewhere around here. This is your first standard deviation. So you might expect a pullback here, and then maybe you find a push lower at these levels if we're able to get it, of course. Once we get to here, what you can expect is somewhat of a sideways consolidation similar to that, maybe a sweep, and then a move similar to this one. Now, how strong is it going to be is what you need to think about, because you have so many levels to conquer again here. You have this level, this level, this level, and then you can continue to go higher in this level. I mean, there's so many levels to push through here that I don't know. I'm not 100% sure that we can continue and go oscillate higher. We'll see. We'll leave these levels here. Actually, let me leave the scenario here, this bearish scenario, and we'll see if it plays out or not. All right. So something like this, we oscillate here, and then we probably get somewhat of a push later on, but this is going to take a while to build. So we'll see if this scenario plays out or not. That is on gold. Now let's switch to oil. Oh, we got Greg Jenkins in the house. What's up, Greg? Welcome back. Welcome back. Let us know how your week went. And we're trying to see what setups we can get. We are 0 for 1 right now, 1 loss so far. So we'll see. All right, the Q's really pushing lower, so it seems like we probably missed the setup here. Yep, we definitely missed it. Well, maybe not entirely. So that will definitely be the short setup we're looking for if we're able to get it. Let's just make sure that this is not some kind of liquidity sweep. Let me just look at this for a quick second here, up there. Yeah, we're below the Asia lows. So a bearish setup here using the opening range box as usual for Justin here is we would wait for a retest of this area, or maybe we get it lower. We'll see if it's really bearish, and enter short here. We'll see if we can get that or not, depending on the reaction. So 1 minute. Probably want to see how it happens on the 5-minute chart, because we are seeing some buying here. We'll wait for 10 o'clock and make sure that this was not a liquidity sweep. Let's see how big is our range. Did we get 100 points or not? Wow, that is a tight range. That is 65 points for the Nasdaq. So the first 15 minutes being 65 points, that's a very, very tight range. It's not a lot of displacement. So again, I'm going to be patient here. Let's go check out the ES since it was showing relative strength. You see, we're seeing some buying here. Buying is somewhat aggressive. Can we go and reconquer this 50% area or not? So far, this is looking more like a liquidity sweep than anything else. And if we're unable to find direction, like I've been saying a little bit earlier, it's going to be a sideways consolidation day where the bigger players are just positioning themselves and we can't really find a clear and clean direction. And these are tough days to trade because you kind of, unless you're a good mean reversion trader, then you're unable to find clean setups there. All right, so far we those lows were bought, right? Pretty good long setup here. Buying the lows, retouching the highs. But I really want to see if we can we get a little bit of a trend today? You know, are we just gonna move sideways or can we get a little bit of a trend? So let's see. Let's give it a couple more touches before we actually decide to take a setup, because we had a one touch of the one touch to the high of the range, one touch to the low of the range. So we're not quite bullish, we're not quite bearish, we're trying to hold. If we're able to break out of that box, then that will be a lot more convincing. We're looking at gold, so we didn't necessarily catch a clean setup. Let's see what we could get. The low of the range would have been a good risk reward entry here on the ES, but we were not able to get that. So far, the ES is behaving cleanly, at least inside of this opening range. So again, I might take my trade on the ES, and the ES has been showing relative strength, so it's been looking stronger than the Nasdaq overall. So we might want to take our trade there. We'll see. All right, so Nasdaq not able yet to conquer the 50% area of the opening range. 945. So our box finishes normally here, 945. So this is our opening range, but we could just continue it because we're inside it. Some people would go and do like a 30 minute. So their range would actually be this. But we prefer, at least me, I prefer to use a 15 for faster, shorter time frames. What are you looking at, Greg? Are you looking at the Nasdaq? All right, so we're just below VWAP. Let me bring those we bring this here. So we're still on the NQ. We're still under the point of control, and those 2 points of control line up really cleanly. So these were, the Asia lows. So this might have been a liquidity sweep, and we're just going to push higher. And then for the ES, we swept the London lows, but we didn't sweep the Asia lows. So that shows relative strength. Are we able to reconquer these highs? If we're able to reconquer these highs and pull back, then we have a clean setup. If we're unable to do so, then it's something else. It's going to be 10 o'clock right now. Let's switch back to the ES. So if we are able to reconquer these highs, like I'm saying, right here, break out of this range, pull back, and revert and oscillate higher, then we have a good setup. If we're not able to do so, then I don't want to trade inside this box today, because today, again, like I said, because of the earnings coming in this week, because we're going to have a Fed meeting this week, I kind of want to keep that in the back of my mind. And also we have on the other side, the whole geopolitical situation where we're not 100% confirmed on what's going to happen in the Middle East. And that's why oil was smack dab in the middle of that gap. We'll take a look at that again in a sec. So this could possibly be a short setup targeting these lows, but we're not taking that. It's 10 o'clock. Let's see what we get. I need this to show me what it wants to do and kind of get out of the range, you know? Unless we get a clean pullback, you know, and we stay bullish, we get a clean pullback, which would mean small controlled pullback with candles that are getting smaller and smaller and then reverting back to the upside for a long setup, right? Since we didn't get the break lower that I was looking for this morning. So far, ES is holding really well. Let me take a quick look at the Dow Jones. Let's look at the Dow on this instead. So Dow Jones rejected these highs. Man, the Dow has been a tough trade. Anybody who trades the Dow these days might be a struggle to get a clean setup there. At least if you're trend trading. If you're trading those sideways consolidation and doing kind of mean reversion, then you're fine. But if you're trying to catch a trend on the Dow recently, it has not been easy. Guess what? Our friend CL is right where we left it at 95 points. We are smack dab in the middle of the range. Like I said, let me get those levels out. Let me put this on an hourly chart. You see how this was the gap here, right? Gapped higher, pull back, and this has been the gap for what, 2 weeks? Let's see how many trading days that is. Yeah, 16 days. So we've been inside this gap for the past 3 days. Right? We stepped out, pulled back inside of it, dropped below, tried to retest, continued. We were starting to trend upwards, and then the trend kind of faded, and now we're moving sideways. Sideways markets are very challenging markets to trade, at least for me. Let's take a look at gold really quickly. Gold pushing ever so slightly lower, like we said. Possible target is these lows for a quick scalp, but that is if it behaves that way. Gold's been a tricky trade these days. All right, so we're able to hold above this so far. This is kind of what I'm looking for on the ES. So can we control our risk? We could risk these prior lows. So we could offer just above this this 50% here, the 50% area could offer here, right? Risking those prior lows. So I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to try this setup. We tried the short. We're seeing strength on the ES. Now we're going to try the long and see, can we get executed a little, you know, get a little bit of a better price here and try to oscillate higher. Let's see if we could get that on the next candle, hopefully. And then possible targets are, you know, is the liquidity above this Asian high there, if we are able to get it. We're seeing some buying, so we're just going to be patient. Now, if we don't get executed, I want to get executed a little bit lower because I think this might need a little bit more of a pullback before it, you know, explodes to the upside. Since we've seen some relative weakness, the Qs are looking interesting as well, right? The Nasdaq right now is looking interesting. It's holding above the 50%. If we're able to push higher, then we get what we want. Well, yeah, we're holding actually below below support. So not as convincing as what I was seeing there. So let's see. All right, we're going to take a look around the world the way I was seeing. Where's the ES? So I'm taking the trade I want to take is on the ES. I want to take it on this instrument because relative strength wise, it is the strongest one of the two. So we'll see, can we get executed here and get a push higher? If this doesn't work and we push lower and our bearish thesis is confirmed, then that'll be my last trade for the day on this one. The Nasdaq is making me want to change my mind. Let us see. Let us see. Don't be shy in the chat, guys. What are we looking at? What are we looking at? Man, are we going to miss? Oh, come on. Come on. We didn't get executed. I didn't want to buy too high, but it looks like that's what's going to happen. We're going to have to wait. We're still kind of, can we risk? I wanted to risk lower, but we might be able to get it. Man, I don't want to do that, but we'll risk those lows. Come on, get it. Get it. Get it. Get it. I want to get a better price. So, okay, we got it. So I wanted to execute lower this way. If it kind of oscillated in this area, I could add and get, a couple adds. So we'll see. All right, we got one contract in. Little, slightly higher than what I would want, but we'll see. We will see. All right, we got Swap Neil. How you doing? How you doing? Am I bullish on gold? I am neutral to bearish on gold, actually. Let's take a look really quick. Switch to gold. So let's, you know what? Let me open gold and let's analyze gold. Let's step back and analyze it from the top, right? Okay, so this is gold, right? This is the gold contract GC on a weekly time frame. We had four weeks of, gold pushing higher. Not very aggressively, though. Then what happened? We were not even able to go and test this inflection area around the 5,000, 5,100, which to me is inflection. So what would have been a more bullish sign is if we pulled back, we were able to go retest really high. So above the 50% area of this candle, and then we pull back here. Am I bullish much longer term? Definitely. But right now, if you're trading short, medium term, I think we might need more of a pullback, because my idea is everybody that was trading gold since 2025 and that's been holding it, and I'm talking about the big money, I'm not talking about us retail traders, has probably oscillated into equities. They've probably rotated their money, rolled it over into equities, and are taking, more risk on trades and less safe haven type of trades. So what I'm looking for is maybe, so since we moved here, a deeper pullback into this area right now for the first target. So we're talking about 4,500s, and we're going to zoom in. Let me reset this. We're going to zoom in and look at it on a shorter time frame. So if we go to the 4-hour chart, like I was saying, we've been steadily pushing lower, pushing lower. Now, we've seen some buying around those 4,600s, but On the short time frame, this is where the liquidity is sitting at. So why not go and retest this before, if we're going to revert back up, you know, you're looking at a quick scalp up. Again, not don't let me decide what you trade, but the most logical trade for me for the short term is for us to go retest this pocket, right? Now, you could get a quick scalp up. I don't know how many points you're looking at, whatever you're looking at. I don't know what time frame you're looking at either. But the most logical direction for me right now, and we might get a move up before we get the move down, I don't control the market, is to go and check this area first, right? So we might move up, move down, and go check this. We might move down first, then move up. I cannot tell you. And this is why I don't like to trade these sideways accumulation patterns. So if you look at it, just put a line chart, put it on a 15-minute chart, and remove the candles so it doesn't show you colors and you don't have a bias. What are we seeing here, right? We are seeing that every time we've pushed higher, we get smacked back down, right? So what I was saying, if you zoom out, we oscillate up, smack that down, oscillate up, smack down, oscillate up, and we've been forming, if this is a high, we've been forming lower highs. We tried to reconquer them right here, and then lower high again right here, right? So the question is, since you said you're a quick scalp, if it's a very quick time frame, hey, that is your call. But if you're holding for hours, do we need to check this liquidity first before we move up? Or do we need to check this liquidity first before we move up, right? I think most likely we might need to check this liquidity and then we get the push up that we're looking for. But again, don't let me decide your trades for you. This is just my humble opinion. Let's look at the ES, see how our trade is doing. Oh, well, we would have gotten our execution here. I was a little bit too impatient. So we'll see. This is going to be the hold. Let's see if we can oscillate back up. Let's quickly look at the Nasdaq. What's the Nasdaq doing? Nasdaq trying to hold just like the ES is doing. So we're inside this range. So like I said, if we're range bound today, then I don't want to be taking too many trades. Swapnil saying low probability setup in your case too. Exactly. If it's a low probability setup, you need to ask yourself, at least on the psychologically, why are you trying to take this trade? Are you trying to get a payout? Are you trying to satisfy an urge? Why are you taking the setup if it's a low quality setup? If it's not a great one, you have no obligation to do so. You can just wait, sit on your hands. No trade is also sort of a trade. You're preserving capital. You're managing your risk. So if there's no setup, if there's nothing clean to take, then just wait for a cleaner setup. Wait for something that's just staring you in the eyes saying, hey, come, look, this is clear, this is clean, take me. And that's probably a better idea. So that's what I would recommend. On gold right now, the setups are not super clean. Now, we could look at another. I have a setup here that I kind of showcased on Discord the other day. But what we had the other day, and that was on the 23rd, we had a push up, we had a sideways consolidation, and then we saw that right here, I remember this at 11:15, we tried to break higher. Okay, so if you were looking at this, you had an initial move, an accumulation, Right here, you had steady buying for, I would say, a good half hour to an hour, 45 minutes. And then we tried to break higher. When this failed, pushed lower and retested those highs, that was a clean setup. Why? Because you saw the failed breakout, you saw the push lower, you saw the retest, and your entry was right there. And that entry, you were targeting this prior pocket, right? That was a clean short setup. And you could see clearly how to enter this trade, right? And even then, this was kind of a B plus setup. It wasn't A plus for me, right? Right now, we're in, at least in my opinion, I'm not seeing anything that is clearly defined. We're just seeing sideways action, push lower, sideways action, slight push lower, sideways action, slight push lower. But where do you enter to manage your risk? You know, how do you decide? Okay, where do we manage the risk? Because yeah, we're seeing some wicks here. We're seeing, for the past, what is it, 45 minutes, we're seeing a lot of wicks, a lot of, small buying action here, but you were seeing wicks here also. You pushed up and then continued lower. You were wicked out and then continued lower. So this is really not the ideal area to trade gold unless you're going to hold for a really long time. Is it ideal for scalps? In my opinion, I don't really think so. So it's your call. And I'm leaning neutral to bearish. So let's see. It is your call. All right. Well, it looks like we bought the top and shorted the bottom today. So not the best look so far. And this is telling me that today is most likely going to be, sideways consolidation day. Maybe we'll get some cleaner price action and more decisive moves later on during the day. But so far, we've been inside this box for almost the first hour of the trading day. And that tells you that, well, today is not going to be very directional, at least for the first half of the session. So, Justin, I know you were looking for boxes and setups. So far, nothing super clean unless you caught the short here at the top. But so far, nothing super clean. In my opinion, I was looking for, we tried to push lower. They bought it here, liquidity sweep. We pushed higher. We were pulling back. It looked like a clean pullback for me. But it looks like we're not going to be able to hold these lows and they're shorting more and more. So risk is right below this low, but if we're not able to hold inside the box, then the trade is off. As a matter of fact, if we're not even able to hold here at that prior level, then the trade doesn't make much sense anymore. Let's switch to the Nasdaq and look really quick. Yeah, Nasdaq at the lows again. So it looks like we're going to push lower. Unless they can buy and hold these lows here. Yeah, but so far we are bearish because, our support level was here, at least on the Nasdaq. Support level was here. We broke lower. They tried to buy it twice. We retested twice. They sold it on the open, right? We retested the lower end. So we retested support. Support got shorted again. We saw some aggressive buying here and thought we were reversing and probably turning bullish. But it hasn't been the case. Why? Because we're getting sold right under that 50% area of the opening range. Now, they're trying to hold the bottoms. If we're able to hold these bottoms, then we push higher. But if not, then we're definitely going to see a drop on the Qs, right? And this is not going to help our ES trade. So we tried the short direction in the morning, looking for a continuation lower. That did not work. We tried our long. That is so far not working. We shorted the top. So it looks like we're going to be 0 for 2 today. No boxes for gold, unfortunately. No boxes for gold. Nothing clear on gold. Honestly, nothing super clear anywhere, right? I'm holding this trade because this is my last trade. If I can't get clear direction here, then I don't like trading sideways action, sideways days. We'll look at the Dow and we'll look at the Russell to see if we see something a little bit clearer, but nothing super clear here. Unless we get an impulse of buyers here that can push this higher because they're buying these previous support levels, then we're wrong. So we'll see. If we can get buyers, great. If we can't, then it is what it is. We have Swapnil saying, I take a lot of impulse entries and then keep on adding to my position. If the trade goes against me to average the position, then there is a major loss. How do you control this? Okay. You need to ask yourself why, and don't worry, this is totally fine. This is yeah, like Justin says, this is a well-known revenge trade. Basically, you're fighting against the market, but it's something deep inside of you that you need to kind of try to understand psychologically. Why are you doing that? What is going on, right? So first thing is you're not accepting the loss. You're not accepting that you might be wrong. You need to remember that we don't control the market, right? We enter where it makes sense, where we have setups that we've practiced over time. If you're taking impulsive trades, you're not trading, you're gambling, right? So you need a clean setup. You need to see something that makes sense to you, that you've traded a bunch of times, and where you have some sort of statistic to show you that, hey, if I take this trade multiple times over a long period of time, it has, a positive result or a greater chance of a positive result. How do you control this? There are many ways, right? But here's an idea. First of all, define your setups, okay? Or define your setup. And I'm going to give you an example right now using this box and whatever we see here, okay? We're going to define a setup. We're going to define a setup that we're not seeing, and then we're going to define one that we are actually seeing. So let's say your setup says, every day at 9:30, I draw a box to find the opening range. The only trades I want is if the price does this. It breaks out of the box, pulls back above the box, and goes higher. Okay, that is a trade I want to take, and then I want to enter here. So your entry would be here, right? And then you say, the only exit I want to take is a measured move above. So the only exit I want to take is if it goes and tests, higher here, right? That's the trade. Well, that makes it easy for you. It tells you that any trade you take out of this is over trading. So you can't take impulse trades. If it's slightly outside of the box but not completely closed out of the box, you don't take the trade. If it's out of the box but has not pulled back, you don't take the trade, even if it goes to the moon, right? If it's inside the box, you don't take the trade. That's what you need to do. You need to have clear, defined rules. Especially, I don't know how long you've been trading, Swapnil, but if you need clear, defined rules for your setups. So that would be setup number one. You can have setup number two, which is, okay, what I want is I want this to move higher, and then I want it to hold above this level and then continue higher. Sorry. And this would be another long, right? And then these are, and you could say, okay, these are the only two trades that I take. Sort of like what it's doing here, right? So for example, and that's the setup I was actually looking for, and I thought we didn't get, but that's why I'm still holding the trade. Why? Because my stop is below this wick. The setup I was looking for is we go test this high, right? We pull back, we test the high again, and now we hold above this. I thought that we had held here, so I entered. But my real setup is actually the best entry for me would have been here, because I didn't think we were going to go and pull back all the way here, and then we go revert to the upside. Where is my target? Well, I have two targets. My two targets are one here. Unfortunately, I only have one contract, and maybe I'll add, we'll see. One here and then one here. This is the setup. If I take anything outside of this, then I'm over trading. So I think, how do you fight this? First thing is you need to have a clear, defined setup, at least one that you practice, and you only take this, okay? Forget about the money, forget about the profits, forget about everything. What you're trying to find out is, can you trade that single setup without breaking your rules? If you're constantly breaking your rules and taking impulsive trades, then you need to sit down with yourself and try to figure out why, right? What is going on there psychologically that is forcing you to take trades outside of your plan, right? That is the main thing that can help you overtrade, is you have setups and you only take these setups. It doesn't matter if your trade runs away from you. You don't, you're trading for yourself. For example, in my case, I have you guys watching me, so I want to take trades and I want to, keep you guys entertained, and I've been trading for a while, so I want to showcase, okay, here's what we can do. I want to show you different options, different setups, or whatever. But if I was just beginning, I'm only taking single setups, or clear, very clear setups, right? You could have the same setup to the bearish side. So all you want to see is, for example, so bullish trade is breakout, pull back, move up. Bearish trade is move down, break down, pull back, move lower. And then we'll put this in red for you. And we'll put this in green for you. Okay, so these, for example, and I'm just giving an example, could be your two setups. This is, and I'm just talking candle patterns. You can add to that. You can decide, well, if I don't see a certain amount of volume, or maybe it needs to have swept some kind of low, or maybe, the dollar needs to be at a certain level, or the VIX needs to be at a certain level. Whatever you decide, right? That is on you, but you need to have clear setups. Once you have a clear setup, then you know whether you're trading or not. Why? If you don't have clear setups, then you're just trading everything. Like, you're trading this move and this move and this move. And trust me, I've been there, and I still make that mistake sometimes. I'll make it a lot less than before, but I still make the mistake. What you want to do as much as possible is just have clear, defined setups, and you only take those setups, and you will be surprised at the results. And you don't need to judge yourself by P&L. You just judge yourself by following that rule. Now, if you take the same setup all the time and then the setup loses 99% of the time and doesn't have good risk reward, then you don't have you don't have a disciplined trading only. You don't have the edge. The edge means you don't have something that has the probability of winning more than losing over time. And that's good information. That will tell you that, hey, you need to look for better setups. And that's great to look for better setups, because there's a ton of resources out there. The Fivers we have plenty of videos. We show plenty of setups that we know work over time. I'm here trading live all the time, so you could look at my trading and do what I do, or actually do the opposite of what I do. um, and decide for yourself, okay, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. So yeah, and don't worry. How long you been trading, Swapnil? Basically, psychologically, what you're doing is you're refusing to be wrong. And I'll tell you, my best trading happens when I'm about 52% right. I've never been higher than I've never had higher than a long term, of course. I'm not talking about a week. Long term, I've never had more than a 68% win rate, right? Um, but of course, the risk to reward can oscillate from 2 to 1 to 3 to 1 to 4 to 1. So since I'm right on average half of the time, then my losers pay for my winners. And that's it. That's the only way to know. You said actively for the past year. Okay, man, you're in there. That's good. But remember, this is a long game. So try and do it the right way and you'll be just fine, right? You see here, I've been in drawdown ever since I entered the trade, but I'm not taking a bunch of trade. I'm not moving things around too much. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Where am I wrong? Where did I decide I was wrong? I'm wrong below this wick. So if I get stopped out there, then fine. It's totally fine because I entered the trade based on a certain setup, based on what I saw at the time. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And that's what you need to practice. And if I can be comfortable being wrong in front of all you guys, I think you can be comfortable, Swapnil, in the comfort of your own home. So I hope it helps. And keep jabbing, keep practicing your setups, do your testing, do your back testing, do what you got to do, and most of all, journal to find out what's going on there. Look at your patterns, look at what you're repeating all the time, and eventually you'll do better. Don't worry, I've revenge traded a lot of times, right? I've martingaled where I'm losing and then I'm adding to a loser. That's not what you want to be doing, right? It looks like the day is going to be more bearish than bullish so far. Justin saying that's how I experienced, so I knew how you felt. Yep. I think as traders, we've all been there. We've all done the revenge trading. We've all gone on tilt. Sometimes I've wanted to break screens. Fortunately, I haven't. But yeah, it's we all experience those emotions. It's a matter of doing your best to keep them in check, and eventually it pays off. You know, the funny thing about trading is it can take a long time for you to actually see progress, even though you're making progress because we're only focused on PNL, PNL, PNL. But you could be making a ton of progress, right? You don't see it, but if you keep doing the best practices, eventually your PNL just takes off and it happens really fast. Um, so just keep grinding, keep at it. That's why we're here. Ask me all the questions you want. If you're in the Discord, you can write me and I'll be more than happy to give you all the guidance I can. All right, let's check out the NQ and then I'm going to go back to gold. All right, NQ is really pushing lower here. Funny thing is, if I drag my trend line, it's probably going to align with this. All right. So if we lose this trend line, we're definitely pushing lower. And it looks like that's what's going to happen. So we'll see. If buyers are able to keep this and push it higher, then great. But it has not been a very, how can I say, we haven't seen a lot of displacement on the day, right? If we look at the NASDAQ, we've moved from, let's see, from 930, we have displaced 120 points. That's nothing for the NASDAQ. Let's look at the ES. ES, we've moved 18 points. A little bit more on the ES, but not huge. We're trading below VWAP. We are bearish so far. So let's see what we get. The last hope that we have for the longs is for this previous pocket here, right here, where they bought, is for this to hold. If this doesn't hold, then the trade will not work. Now, if we're able to reconquer these highs, I might, and if we do it decisively, of course, I might add to the trade. And then instead of risking these lows, then I'll go and risk these lows. But we'll have to wait and see. Let me see on the 5-minute what that looks like. So this is looking like a controlled pullback, right? This is looking controlled. This is looking kind of like what you want to see, you know, kind of forming sort of a flag pattern. We don't want it to continue too low though, right? Unless it wicks down and reverts back up, but we'll see what we get. All right, Swapnil, go ahead. Have yourself a great rest of your day. Thank you for taking part of the live. It's always great to have you here. So thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, of course, I didn't get the ad. Let's see. Let me just check if this is not breaking news. Definitely want to add to that. All right, so now we'll do exactly what we said. We'll risk the prior lows. Is this news though? All right, Justin, take care. Thanks for being on the live. This might have been a liquidity sweep. Okay, there we go. That's the news. Trump to hold Situation Room meeting on Iran. Well, we're doing what we said we were going to do. I kind of missed this one here, caught it a little bit late. We might need to, well, this might be, you know, a fake out, and then we continue because these highs have been sold. So that's totally fine. But what I'm looking for now is for us to kind of curl and go back up like that. If that doesn't happen, then I'm wrong on the day. I wanted to get an ad. We got it a little bit late. If we get another highlight, another tweet, then we'll see what we get. All right, guys, let me know in the chat what we're looking for, what you guys are looking at. So gold tested the lows as we said. So let's see if we can get some follow through on the ES. If not, then I'm wrong because they've been selling those highs all day. I was hoping we had some trapped shorts and we could, you know, push higher. But we'll see. We'll see what we get. We have about 20 minutes to go on the live. Let me know, guys. Let me know what you want me to look at. Let me know what you're trading. Yeah, liquidity has been swept here. Let's see if we can get some follow through. So just two targets we're looking at today. This halfway point and kind of conquering, sweeping those highs possibly. But of course, we would need follow through on this high volume move here. So let's see if we get it. I said I wanted to add if we had kind of a move above this. I was hoping for a slower move so I would be able to catch it. Didn't catch it in time, but we'll see. Very sideways, like I said, as predicted, sideways day. You know, it's been what? It's been we're over an hour in the session, and we've just been oscillating sideways. And buyers have not been able to find their stride. Let's look at the Dow. As a matter of fact, I want to look at the Dow here. All right, gold trying to push higher. Let's look at the Dow. Dow has been rejected multiple times. So all the signs are pointing to a move lower. You might say, Dave, why do you keep buying if all the signs are pushing lower? Well, that is a very good question. The question is, the thing is, I like to be a contrarian. All right, so let's look at some of the assets here. The VIX is, all right, VIX is at 18. That is okay. If we were pushing a little bit higher, you know, shorts would be in favor. NVIDIA, let me put a VWAP here. NVIDIA, slightly bearish, trying to kind of pivot back to the upside, possibly. We have Apple pivoting to the low side. Tesla trying to curl up. Microsoft. Oh, okay. Microsoft made that push up, I guess, on that little news tweet that we got there. We have Amazon trying to revert back up. Meta pushing lower, so kind of a mixed bag right now. Google pushing higher and Broadcom pushing lower. Let's look at our volt ratio. Okay, up volume minus down volume, slightly higher. Okay, slightly bullish. So that means that we have more up volume than down volume, which is good for our trade. We have the tick chart kind of ticking down right now, advanced decline. So we had a good amount of assets advancing, but now we pulled back, we started to advance again, and we're slowly starting to pull back again. So not great for hour long. Let's look at it right now and see where it's at. So buyers have not stepped in yet. And it looks like our ad was again premature, too impulsive. I expected immediate follow through there because of that tweet, because we've seen candles completely take off. But I guess today is not one of those days. We'll see. Again, our stop is right below this pullback here before we started to curl up. So if we can get it, and if we can get the move up, you know, that would be good. If we had a bigger account and more risk available, that would be another ad for me. But we want to keep our risk under control, so we won't add any more contracts to this account. All right, let's see if there's more breaking news. Something on Russia. Okay, this says this was 13 minutes ago. 13 minutes ago was what? That's 8 minutes ago. Yeah, so about the same distance. All right, we're starting to get the push up that we want. Let's just see if we can really push higher and reconquer those highs. We are seeing some selling here, which is not ideal. That means that shorts are really positioned here at those 71.90s. You know, I should have, unfortunately, I don't have the GEX chart here. but maybe there might be a wall of sellers here. Let me see. Let's see if we can get some options data. One second, guys. And again, remember to like if you didn't like yet. Remember to subscribe. Yep, sellers are definitely stepping to the plate. Definitely a sideways consolidation day because every time we try to pull up, we get sold. Every time we try to push down, we get bought. So not a day where I personally want to be doing a whole lot. Let's see. This is MU futures. Okay, yeah, it looks like there's a wall of sellers around those 70, 7190s. So go on the 5-minute chart. So this was a clean pullback, right? This was a very clean pullback, push up on volume. This looked good, but unfortunately the volume was not legitimate. The volume was based on the tweet that just came out. So that does not help our trade much. We would have needed something much more positive for a quick follow through, but we're still holding because we're long. We're not wrong, sorry, until we go below this lower high. I mean, higher low, sorry. So we'll see. Can we get the follow through or not? All right. I have to say though, the Nasdaq looks a lot more bearish than the ES. Is it a buying opportunity? Maybe. All right, we have 10 minutes to go. Let me know what you're trading. Let me know what you're looking at. Let me know what questions you have for me. All right, this is the type of price action we want to see. We want to see those levels get bought and the push higher. And we'll just be aiming for 1/2 standard deviation higher and then maybe a test of these highs. But on a day like today where things are really moving sideways and we're not getting a huge amount of price action, things are relatively muted. We don't want to have big targets. So if we don't get a clean move all the way up here, we might take all our exits over here at the 7206 area. So let's see what we get. Greg, you didn't tell me. What were you trading today? What did you see? All right, we're not seeing that immediate follow through to the upside. Let's just check out gold again. As a matter of fact, no, let me check out, let's check out CL, oil. Oil has been pushing up. Huh. All right, so if oil is pushing up, then that is not what we want to see for sorry. That is not what we want to see for our equities push. So that's definitely why we're not seeing that that continued push to the upside. We are holding ever so slightly though. On the VWAP, we are slightly above, which means we are slightly bullish, slightly neutral. We're in the middle of this zone here, so somewhat muted. Let's see. Let's see. We are holding longer term. You know, we've been holding this little trend here, right? So if we're able to hold this little trend and we're able to kind of, you know, finish this pullback, revert to the upside, then we get it. If not, then we will go and push lower. Now, a setup lower would be, you know, we get stopped out, of course, of this trade. We go and close lower below these initial lows. We pull back, we retest this area, and that would be a clean entry here below that 71.84 to enter short, right? Maybe for an overnight short or maybe for an all-day hold short. We'll see what we get there, but hopefully this is actually, you know, another oscillation higher. We'll see if we can get that. And a quick look on the Nasdaq. Nasdaq starting to push higher, which is good. We found our bottoms here. A lot of sideways action today. So not the easiest trade, to be honest. And a good thing that today I had in the back of my mind that, all right, this might be a sideways day. So we're not going to go crazy and try to take a bunch of positions. You know, we had one try short, we had a second try, and now it looks like the shorts are taking over. Makes me want to flip my position, but we're not going to do that. We're going to take the loss like a man. Because flipping the position was not part of the plan. All right, this is not working. So we're going to have to exit that trade. So 0 for 2 to start the week, but that's totally fine. It happens. Today, I mean, this week is going to be, I think we're going to start developing direction again once we get the results, once we know, you know, what earnings the companies have posted, for example, Apple, etc. We will also get direction once we know what the Fed decides. So let's look at the news really quick, the schedule. On Tuesday, we have the ADP employment change, not a huge thing to worry about. And then we'll have the Dallas Fed speaking. On Wednesday, though, we have the housing market news, durable goods, which is something to pay attention to. And then what we really need to know is 2 o'clock Fed interest rate decision. So the forecast is 3.75 everywhere. The consensus is 3.75 as well. So we want to see, okay, is the Fed going to be hawkish, bullish? What's going to be the decision? We know also we're going to have we have Jay Powell leaving the Fed and well, hopefully leaving the Fed. We don't know. We'll see. And then we have Kevin Warsh stepping in and taking the lead. So we want to know, how is Warsh going to be? Is he going to be, you know, on the Trump side? And is he going to be here to kind of prop up the market and really push things really push things higher and take policies that are in favor of the overall US stock market, US equities more specifically? Or, is he going to really act on his own accord and do what's best for the economy on depending on his perspective? So we'll see what happens there. Not 100% sure of what to expect on Warsh. I've looked at him really quickly. I know that he's an insider. He's been at the Fed, so he kind of knows his way around. I also know that he was there during the '08 period, so that's definitely going to impact how he takes his decisions. So honestly, as the whole world is doing lately, in comparison to what's being done in Hormuz, we're kind of in wait and see mode. We are going to be in wait and see mode to see what happens with Mr. Kevin Warsh. What is he going to decide for us? Is he going to go crazy, or is he going to be a little bit more subdued, like his predecessor, Jay Powell, and be very measured in his moves? We'll have to wait and see what happens. Time can only tell. As time will tell right there for my trade when we get stopped out, because this one is definitely not working. So, short setup showing up really quickly here once it's confirmed, but we can look at it this way. Let me just go here so we don't see the box and be influenced. We kind of pushed higher. They sold these highs, so we had liquidity there. Pushed lower. They bought here because we had liquidity lower, and then they sold the highs again. They bought the lows again. They sold the highs again, and now we want to find out, well, are they going to buy these lows again and push it higher, or is this going to fail? Is this going to fail and go retest those lower liquidity levels here? So about 3 minutes to go. Let's see if we find out on the live or not what is going to happen with our ES trades. Now, if we switch to the Nasdaq and we kind of zoom in, we see that they are slightly, ever so slightly, trying to buy these lows, right? So that's a good sign for us because the Nasdaq was a little bit more bearish than the ES today. That is a good sign. Let's see if we can hold if this is not a fake out. Now it is going to be 11 o'clock, so we're going to have that hourly candle switch, right? If we look at the Dow Jones, we are continuing to push lower on the Dow Jones, at least on the 15-minute chart. So the Dow is definitely bearish in comparison, right? Let's take a quick look at gold. And as we expected this morning, we said it was a possibility since we had been selling the highs, consolidating. We had a quick push higher, and then, like I said, my thesis was, well, we probably need to go retest this pocket or even take this liquidity, and we are on our way to do that now. Now, since gold is not trading in lockstep with equities like it usually has been doing more or less lately, that's why we didn't really let that influence our index trade. So we'll see, can we reconquer these highs before 11 o'clock or not, or will 11 o'clock be the drop of water that spills the glass, and will everything fall to the downside? We'll see. Anything is possible. We are oscillating sideways. We have been inside this box, and right now still we're at the midpoint, mid-level of this box. So my quick entry here where I was convinced that we were going to push higher was too soon. And the curl up that I was looking for here is also not working so far. So it looks like it's going to be a red start to the week for us. Let's see. All right, it is 11 o'clock right now. I will give this about 30 seconds to show what it's going to do before I close the chat. If you haven't done so already, guys, please remember to like, remember to subscribe, and we will see you soon in the markets. Take care, guys.